Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Fashion Group International of Dallas. This is the Fall Forum Panelists, and today we're in the beautiful boutique in Highland Park Village of Fendi. And it is my pleasure to introduce Chuck Steelman, who is going to guide us through all about men. This is menswear, and it's very influenced also in women's wear. And we're excited to hear the panelists today. Now, Chuck Steelman has been very involved with FGI, and I think you're district director right now. He has been in our position. My name is Rhonda Sargent Chambers. I'm the co-regional director, along with my friend Holly Quatero. And you've had this job before.
Yes.
We love Chuck.
I'm glad you have it now.
So thank you, everyone, for being here this evening. And I'm looking forward to this chat all about men. Take it away, Chuck.
Thanks so much, Rhonda. And guys, we're so glad to have you here at Fendi at Highland Park Village. And we're going to talk today about men's fashion. And I want to first introduce you guys to the panels, to our guest panelists that we have here. First, we have Billy is the Bomb. And if you read Paper City, you'll know why I'm calling him the Bomb, because he has that very cool article that I always love to go to. That usually it's on the back page. She's the bomb or he's the bomb. But Billy is definitely a fashion influencer here in town. He's originally from Florida, lived a long time in LA, and has worked in the fashion media arena for a long time, and he's been in Dallas for about 15 years. So Billy, we're happy to have you on the panel today.
Thank you.
And then everybody knows Jackson. I mean, these guys really need no introduction, but as you all know, Jackson was famous at Barney's here when Barney's was here in New York, and led the concierge program, which was recognized 6 years in a row as the concierge of the year for the city of Dallas. And, you know, he has his own company called Jackson, the brand. And so he's a luxury lifestyle brand. So you definitely, everybody knows Jackson, but Jackson, we're happy to have you participating on today's panel.
This mask doesn't want to stay on.
Yeah, the mask, you know, where I took my mask off because we're social distance, I think, enough. And then to round out the panel is Al Tidwell, who's been a makeup and hair artist in the city for over 30 years. And he's known for his minimalist approach to bring the model's natural beauty out. But he and I have worked together for many, many years at Neiman Marcus and in fashion production and shows, and he's very talented. And, you know, if you remember, if you were at the Fashion Group International Night of Stars the year Billy Reed was honored, Al was one of the models, which launched a whole second career for him because you really were able to, like, reinvent yourself as a model at that point, and got a lot of work, which is really great. So Al has a lot to contribute, so we're happy to have you on the panel today.
Happy to be here.
So we're going to first talk about Fashion Week, because as you all go, as guys, as you know, like, you know, there is a men's Fashion Week, just like there's a women's Ready to Wear Fashion Week that happens in New York, Milan, London, and Paris. So with the pandemic, what do you think really will happen to men's Fashion Week? Do you what do you think designers are going to do or choose to do during the pandemic? Any thoughts?
I think it's going to be a little bit more virtual, like we saw in Xenia, where it's pre-filmed and everybody's social distancing, and it's just viewed at another place, you know?
So if these brands are doing more virtual things, Billy, do you think this is something that we're going to see like in 5 years, or do you think we'll go back to the way we always have known Fashion Week to be?
I mean, if I were to be completely honest, I hope not. There's something to be said for the live experience. There's a reason for live theater, that you see it live and instead of, you know, on your computer. People thrive off being in that environment. It's happening the same way with the art fairs right now. People are now buying art online, but going to an art fair, you feed off of the energy around you and the excitement around you. And so I'd hate to see Fashion Week just remain virtual for all time.
And you know, guys, as you all know, you're all virtual. We'd much rather be hanging out in Highland Park Village, drinking champagne and having fun, talking about fashion. But unfortunately, you know, Fashion Group International is able to figure out how to do this virtually, so we can still have programming and events, which I think is what's so critical now with any business, whether it's fashion or travel or restaurants. Everybody has had to change their business model to accommodate, because, you know, the pandemic's not going away anytime soon. So this is a great example of a way to create an environment and an event for people that still allows people to participate in events. So as we talked about Fashion Week, I totally agree with you. I hope things do go back to some normalcy, because it is fun. There's something about being at a fashion show, whether it's a New York Fashion Week, event or something locally that's happening that gives you some great energy to socialize with people. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Louis Vuitton show, the recent Louis Vuitton men show. And Jackson, one of the things I thought was cool was the cloud motif that covered the ceiling and the floor and all. It was just such a really good presentation. What did you see in that show that you really see as a trend for men?
You know what? I was very, very happy to see. I'm a hat guy, and I noticed that they immediately did some amazing bucket hats and some beanies, but they took it to a luxury level. So we have the opportunity to actually see how you can take something that's common, the commons man look, and upgrade it. The cloud motif was amazing, and I love the way that they actually did the printing on the garments as well.
Yeah, I thought that was cool too, how at the end, the clouds were all over the fashion. So when they came out, they kind of blended in with the set. So Al, what did you have anything that you liked that you said, hey, that's something that I like, or a trend that you saw?
I just like the suits and the whole silhouette.
There was a lot of suits in that show, which I think is interesting. And Billy, do you think that we're going to see a return of suits as we've seen on the runway, especially in Vuitton?
I mean, I hope so. Going back to the beginning of the pandemic, I personally tried to still get dressed every single day. I'm not going to completely lie and say I didn't get dressed for a couple hours and then immediately go back into my PJs. But at the same time, I feel that you need to put on a jacket once in a while to feel like, I don't know, that you're a professional instead of laying there on the couch with your dog. When I write, I need to feel fashion. I need to feel the clothing on me to kind of get in that headspace. So I hope men start wearing suits again. I actually just bought a new suit not too long ago, and I'll be completely frank, it's because of the COVID weight I put on it, and I needed to get a new one. But yeah, I'm hopeful.
Either that or a spin class, right?
Yes, yes.
So let's talk about the Fendi men show, because we were looking at some of the images from that. I saw a lot of leather on the runway in that particular show, but were there any pieces or any trends that you saw that really stood out from the Fendi men show? Jackson, did you see anything that you're like, this is really something that we need to watch?
Yeah, I love the way they actually took the standard logo and the standard color, and they basically brought it alive in a different way. I mean, a leather Fendi logoed bag, shopping bag, is simply amazing. I also like the way that when you looked at the garments, you knew that the garments were cut a lot differently than I'd normally seen on the runway.
And Al, what about you? Did you pick out something that you're like, that's what I'm going to put in my wardrobe?
First of all, I love the casting, the diverse choice of models, and more of an androgynous feeling, which kind of turned into, everyone needs a bag. So it's not a lady's handbag, it's a person's handbag.
That brings me to make me think about men's accessories as a whole. And
before you go, I just have to say, I wish they had cast Al in that Fendi show, because
that's what they were missing.
There were those pants, the kind of they're kind of a riff on tweed, old school. They weren't window pane, but the plaid pants that kind of had a skirt effect to them. You would have looked amazing in that.
I would love to wear that.
Now, you mentioned the bags, and that really was one of the things that when I read the article, I think that Vogue did a recap of the show, is they talked about how they took women's handbags and the man bag, and every single model carried a Fendi bag. And so let's talk about men's accessories a while. And Al, we'll start with you, and we'll talk about bags first. What do you see this as something that's going to be long term, or do you see guys like in Dallas, on the street in Texas, carrying bags?
I think so. In my job, I'm always carrying bags. So whether it's just to have your phone and your keys in, or to carry your equipment or whatever, instead of bulking up your outfit in your pockets, just you always need a bag.
Yeah, and I think the backpack really started that trend, for men. It started off, okay, guys can carry a bag, but it's a backpack. And then it kind of turned into what they call the man bag, which was just more of like a satchel. And now there's every shape, every type of bag that guys can carry. So it is something I think that's important, and I think Fendi made a big statement in their show. Other accessories that we're seeing in men is jewelry. And Jackson, you're draped in jewels today, right?
Yeah, that's kind of my thing.
And why do you think men have realized or decided, hey, jewelry is I want to be part of this. Like, I like jewelry. Women have always been fans of jewelry, but now men are really into it.
Well, I think more companies are producing it. More fashion houses are designing them, and they're designing good pieces. I think for a long time, we guys did not have great things to choose from. I think also, too, more men are getting comfortable with wearing it. I think wearing jewelry is sort of an attitude. You have to be comfortable with yourself. You have to be comfortable with what you put on. And if you look at the rings and the cuffs and the watches, everybody's basically upgrading their game in that aspect. I read a couple of articles, and what the articles were basically saying is they were teaching guys on how to wear these, whether you should stack your bracelets, how many rings you should have on one finger. And the responses that I was reading from the people, from the men that were reading the article were thrilling, because I could tell guys were really, really getting into it.
Yeah, I agree. I think, when you go to a jewelry store and there's an entire section for men, and it used to be watches and a gold band. That was the only option, and now there are so many different options. Well, another accessory that has gone in and out of fashion from time to time are socks, and it's always like, do you wear a sock with your shoes or with your boot or with your sneaker? And there's been a trend, especially in the couture brands, to have these really cool socks that men are gravitating towards. And Billy, you're sporting. This looks like Tom Brown. Are these Tom Brown socks?
Yes, they are. I previously was such a devotee of, pretty much my Prada loafers, no socks all the time. Same with my Adidas sneakers. But a couple years ago, I just started thinking, I could play things up a little bit. I think it's important that it doesn't work all the time. As Jackson was pointing out, that, maybe some people need a little bit of instruction. I will be completely honest, I might get it wrong 30% of the time, because you have to be careful about, I feel, it's the right mix of the right length of the sock, or the right fabric, if you're going to go with a wool sock and maybe a really heavy brogue or something, or a fun floral sock and some sneakers. So yes, I have been buying a lot of socks of late. And then last night I realized I was at a friend's garden, social distancing and having a cocktail, but they come in handy when the mosquitoes are trying to attack your feet.
That's true. That's a good tip. It's not only fashionable, but it protects you from the wildlife of Texas.
It's a very Boy Scout thing to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think it's fun, and I think that the good thing is there are options, and if you're comfortable wearing no socks with your sneakers or with your loafers or slides, that's great. But if you want to wear a cool sock with sneakers, and there's so many options out there, so that's really fun. Now, we talked a lot about like men's designing, more designer clothing as the pandemic has affected the fashion industry in a big way, like all industries. But we've seen that even places like TJ Maxx that's gone bankrupt and closing all of their stores. So when it comes to like mainstream fashion, entry level in fashion, how do you think the pandemic's going to change men's fashion in that world?
Well, what
Jackson,
I've
do you have any input?
Yeah, what I've seen is, it's funny that you mentioned that. Just recently, I've been taking clients out to shop, and they've been wanting me to do high-low shopping. And high-low shopping basically means I have to go to a TJ Maxx or a Ross and do a little of a blend. And what surprised me is that the stores are packed. And they're packed for a couple of reasons. They're packed because people are a little bored and they want to get out, but they're also packed because there's a lot of product out there and people are dropping prices. And so these discount stores are affected, but I think they're going to be affected in a positive way when all the other larger stores and other boutiques need to get rid of the back stock that they have that has not been selling.
And that's a good point, because I do like to when you're wearing a piece of Fendi and then you're wearing it with a Zara pant and then maybe a sneaker like this Adidas, so you've got all different price points and all different styles. Billy, from what you see when you're working in the editorial scene of the fashion world, do you like to mix brands like that and do a high-low from time to time?
I think it's important to do that, because Paper City, we have so many different readers. Something else is we're always trying to reach that new, younger reader. And not every young reader is born with a silver spoon in their mouth. So I think it's important for them to know that you can have a great Zara dress and throw it on with a Chanel flat bag, So yeah, I think it's always important to do that high-low mix. So it will be sad if we see a lot of those great stores like Steinmart. I go to JCPenney all the time to find something, that could be fun to mix up with something else. Because that's also, in my opinion, since I cover a lot of society, that you won't look like everybody else in the room. Because let's be realistic, a lot of women look like they just went into one of those luxury stores that we all know about and bought it right off the mannequin.
Yeah, I do think it's fun to mix and match, and you're right. You do want to look different and look special. Al, we didn't really talk anything. We haven't really talked about men's grooming, but as we're talking about getting styled and making, since you're hair and makeup artist, what are you seeing when it comes to men's hairstyles like that are current right now? What would you say is like the look for guys right now?
I think it's okay to have short or long hair, and there's nothing wrong with that. And but definitely a little bit less groomed, more just a natural texture to the hair.
And then beards, like, so Jackson, you and Al are still sporting beards. Like, do you think, and two different styles. So do you think beards will continue as being a trend? Like, do you think they're going to last? How many more years are we going to see it?
For me, definitely. At the beginning of the pandemic, I shaved, and I was very surprised at what was underneath.
Can I actually ask Al a question?
Yeah, of
'Cause
course.
This just dawned on me as you're saying all this. In this new world where I'm only looking at your eyes, do you think, that fashion's become so fluid, so androgynous? Do you think we'll see more men perhaps wearing eye makeup? Because you have to relay so much now through
That's right.
that.
Hidden behind
Definitely,
the
I can
mask.
see that happening.
Okay.
So you think we will see that?
Yes, for sure.
I mean, in today's world, I mean, anything can happen. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, I think that it's something, again, it's all about what you're comfortable with. And I think that's really the message that we're seeing all across fashion is whatever people are really comfortable with. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the red carpet. We all love a good red carpet moment, especially here locally, like when we have the Night of Stars in Dallas with Fashion Group every November. But nationally, like when you're seeing the Oscars or the Grammys or the Emmys, like who do you like to see? What guy do you think has the best style? Jackson, who do you always look to say they always get it right?
You know what? I get excited anytime there's a major red carpet walking, and the person that I'm looking for always is Pharrell. And the reason why I love Pharrell is if it's a black tie, red tie, purple tie, he wears what he wants to wear. And it's unbelievable. I mean, in 2014, he wore 2 Lanvin suits, which were amazing. One was super, super shiny, and one was a short suit. And I think for the Oscars, he did a little take on Karl Lagerfeld and wore this amazing black tux. So his style with his hats, with his jewelry, with his neckwear.
I mean, he can do
just
jewelry
does
like
it.
no man can.
Yeah.
So, Billy, who do you always look for?
I would say Pharrell. And you stole that from me. But I also love the classicists. I do hate it, a guy trying too hard who can't pull it off. Like Pharrell can pull it off. The clothes can never wear you. You have to wear the clothes. And Pharrell is always wearing the clothes. So if you can't do that edgy thing, then I still go with the classicists. It's like the new Rat Pack, the new Sinatra, Dean Martin. That's to me Clooney, Pitt, DiCaprio. So.
And Al, anybody that you really look for?
I really love Timothy Chalamet's style. I think it's also important that you have a stylist working with you because they see you in a different way and they know the trends and what's going on, and as opposed to taking a wild shot and getting it wrong.
Oh,
Well,
can I say one
yeah,
more
of
person?
course.
Billy Porter. I mean,
What a way to
hands
end,
down,
right, with
yes,
Billy Porter.
Yes.
Yeah, he is very, very dramatic. And at the Golden Globes, a friend of mine, Alex Vanache, actually designed that white cape that he wore at the Golden Globes, and I actually saw it in his studio in New York when I was there, and it was pretty spectacular. But yeah, he is definitely making a statement, when it comes to men's fashion, and he's stepping out of a box.
That first time he came out in the tuxedo with the the long trailing. I mean, that was, and he's found a way to still look so in charge of himself.
Correct.
It wasn't, in my opinion, going in either direction gender-wise. It was him, and that's the way I think it always should be.
Yeah, so I think the message I think that we're hearing from all of our panelists is it's really all about being you and finding the fashion that you feel the most comfortable in. And to me, that's what I like about fashion is there's something for everybody, and you can really bring out your personality by getting dressed and by presenting yourself. When you attend an event or just on day-to-day life. So, well, guys, it's been fun to chat with you and see you, and we hope to see you guys soon at an event. Billy, we need a fun Paper City party soon.
Hell yes.
Well, thanks again so much. And for everybody who's zooming in, following along with FGI, thank you for your support. And if you're not following Fashion Group on Instagram, make sure you follow it at FGI Dallas, and we'll see you soon. Thanks so much.